everybody, and welcome back to another Scratch tutorial. I am Lina with ApeTech Tutorials. First of all, I want to thank those 340 of you who have followed us on YouTube. Thank you so much, guys, for following us, and thank you for joining us on this journey we've been doing to teach you guys how to use Scratch. In this tutorial, we're going to teach you guys how to do a number counter where you have objects and you have to match them to a card. We're going to start with part 1. So in this part, we're going to teach you about randomizing cards and randomizing characters, and what happens if you click on the card that is correct, and what happens if you click on the card that is not correct. And again, this is only part 1, so yes, there's going to be some bugs in there that we're going to fix in part 2. So let's go ahead and get started with our demo. Alright guys, now for our demo. So again, this is part 1. We have started the initial stuff. So basically what we're going to show you is how to randomize your character and how to randomize your card that shows out here. And sometimes, since we haven't checked yet, and this will be for part 2, but sometimes you'll have these two cards match each other, which is something we're going to correct in part 2. For now, it's just making sure we can randomize the characters and the card. And if you click on the card that is correct, you'll hear something like this. Now if you click on the card that's not correct, then you'll hear something like this. So the only way right now to change the cards and the character is to click here. But that's going to be fixed on part 2. And we're also going to randomizing where the position of these two cards is. So that this card is not always the card that matches with the characters. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the code then. Alright guys, so the estimated time for this is about 30 minutes. The difficulty is medium. Here are the skills you're going to be learning. You're going to go ahead and learn how to use event blocks, operation blocks, variables, control blocks, look blocks, and sound blocks. And it's going to take about 10 steps to create this project. It's a long one. And again, this is only part 1, but we're going to be learning quite a few concepts in there. Alright, let's go ahead and start with step number 1. So step number 1, we're going to go ahead and add variables. And as you can see here in this image, we have 5 variables. Let's go ahead and add those. Let's go in here, and this orange circle that says variables, we're going to go ahead and click on this make a variable. And in here, we're going to go ahead and add our variables. So I'm going to have number 1. And you guys can name it whatever you want. I'm naming it that because it makes sense for me. I'm going to do number 1 and then number 2. So these are 2 random variables that I'm going to be randomizing, and I'll be using for my card 1 and my card 2. And then we're going to use a first card number and a second card number. And for those of you who are not familiar with this, I usually leave it for all sprites. Because if you only leave it for only this sprite, you won't be able to check this variable in other areas. So I always leave it here just to keep it open so I can use it in other parts of the program. And our final variable is going to be the character variable, or the number of character. So there you have it. Here are 5 variables we're going to be needing. This one comes with by default with Scratch, so you can ignore it. Alright, step number 2. Let's go ahead and add customs to our sprite. We're going to have one sprite, but that sprite is going to have different customs. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and add our characters, or our customs for our characters. We're going to click on the sprite we have and go to customs. Or customs. I always say that wrong. Customs, and we're going to delete the ones that we don't need. I'm gonna show you how to do a couple, and then I'm gonna speed through it so that you guys don't have to sit through me trying to choose what characters I want. So first of all, we leave the cat, and we're gonna go ahead and add a duplicate of this guy, And we're just gonna go, actually no, we're gonna go ahead and add a character from here. And I'm just gonna use what Scratch has. Go with blue ball. I'm gonna copy that and paste it because I need 2 of those. And what I like to do is I like to center them to that little circle with the cross there. If you guys saw that dark gray one. Just so I know they're always gonna show center. And now let's go ahead and add more. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed up these so until we get 10 of the same. Alright guys, so I have added 10 costumes to this sprite, and I just went with the cat, the ball, chicks, cake, fish, chickens, bats, gifts, potion, and some roosters. And on the screen they might look small, but we're gonna change that in a little bit. Step number 3, we're gonna go ahead and add the initiating code to initiate all of our variables. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with the code that goes in the actual stage of our, this is the initial code to set up all our variables. So let's go ahead and get that flag. So when the flag is clicked, I want to go ahead and set my character number to 0. I want to go ahead and set my first card number to 0. And I want to go ahead and set my second card number to 0. I want to go ahead and randomize number 1. So for randomizing, we're gonna go into operations here and get this pick random number. And depending how many characters you have in that sprite, you're gonna change this number. I'm going for 10, so I'm gonna leave it 1 to 10. Sorry, I put in the wrong one. Goes down here. And then we're gonna go ahead and put number 2 and randomize that one as well. So we're gonna, when the flag is clicked, we're gonna go ahead and set all these first 3 to 0, the character number, the first card number, the second card number, and then we're gonna randomize number 1 and number 2. And then we're gonna create a broadcast. So we're gonna go ahead to go to events, and at the bottom, we're gonna pull one of these blocks that says broadcast, and we're gonna create a new message. And this broadcast is basically gonna set our sprite number. And what this is gonna do is just randomize our character that shows on the screen. Step number 4, we're gonna go ahead and add the code that will randomize our character. And you can see some of it here on the screen, but we're gonna be adding more. All right, now that we have that, let's go ahead and go to our character here. I'm gonna change this. You don't have to change it, but I just want to put that there. And then we're gonna go to the code of that character, and we're gonna go ahead and get the, when I receive a set sprite number, we're gonna go ahead and set our, go to our variables, we're gonna set our character number to number 1, to whatever number 1 is. And then we're gonna go into the controls and check if our character number is character number 1, if it's equal to 1. So get that, and then go to variables and get your character number. Is key here. We're gonna check if it's 1, and we're gonna give it the looks of the first character, which was our custom one, which is our cat. So they just go in order of however you put them here. And we're going to set the percentage of the size. I want him to stay at 100 because he looked good at 100. And we go ahead and duplicate this and do it 10 times for the rest of your characters. Alright guys, so make sure you have 1 through 10 or however many numbers you're going to do. And also make sure that your customs are based on the position you want them at. Like for example, cat is number 1, is character 1. And then ball is character 2. Cheek is character 3, and so on. So just go down. I've left it all to 100 right now, but I'm going to be changing those numbers based on how they look. But let's go ahead and check for the, make sure they randomize. And then they're not in any order, just randomly showing up. Alright, so it looks like they're random. They're not popping in any actual format. Let's go ahead and get to the next step. Step number 5, we're gonna go ahead and add customs to our sprite card 1. And this card 1 is gonna hold our 10 different customs for the different cards 1 through 10. So now we're going to go ahead and add our cards. Same idea as we did with the sprite, but we're gonna do a pane so you can do your own square. We're going to add a card. Let's choose something soft and let's go with the blue. I'm gonna make a rectangle here. Center it. Again, I like to center those cards. And you can kind of see how big it's gonna be based on yeah. There we go. Now let's go ahead and add the numbers. You can't see the number because it's the same color as the card, so let's change that. Make that black. Make our number 1 big and also center that guy. So now that we have 1, let's just duplicate that one 10 times or as many times as you guys have numbers. And I'm gonna go ahead and speed up, but I'm gonna be changing all the numbers to 1 through 10 for mine. Alright guys, so I added cards 1 through 10 here. And those will be the customs for my first card. Step number 6, we're going to go ahead and add the broadcast that will set our first card. Now let's go ahead and go into the backdrops, into the stage, and go into the code area. We're going to go ahead and add another broadcast in there. And this broadcast is going to set our first card. So click on that and create a new message. Set first card. Step number 7. Now we're going to go ahead and add the code that will execute the set of the first card. And here's some of the code that it's going to be added. And I'll show you the rest as we continue writing it on the screen. Now let's go into our card code, and then we're gonna go ahead and add the code for the card. So we're gonna go when we receive this first card, we're gonna do something similar that we did to our character, but we're gonna go ahead and choose a card sprite. So we're gonna be checking, first of all, we're gonna go ahead and set our variable for the first card that we created to the number 1. Here. And then we're going to go ahead and go and check to see if that first card is equal to 1. And we're going to set it to 1 to show the first card. There. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed up through these, just so that you guys don't have to sit through here looking at me do this. But basically it's the same idea. We're gonna go ahead and change everything to the next character or next card in this case. Okay, so here's the code for the card. Just make sure you have 1 through 10 or how many numbers you're adding, and make sure that your customs match with the actual number up here. So I got them all matching, and let's go ahead and check. So you're gonna be checking what this number is here, right here, and what first card is, and the character. So you should see the same amount on here as here. Okay, let's put this at the bottom. 7. So they're all 7s, and that's 7, and that's 7. Okay. And this is how you can check, make sure you get the right stuff. Just keep clicking it. And once you've satisfied, go ahead and move to the next step. Step number 8, we're gonna go ahead and add another broadcast. It's gonna be for the second card. So we're gonna go ahead and do a broadcast on the second card. So go to events, grab one of these guys, broadcast, and go ahead and create a new one. We're going to go ahead and set second card. Okay. So now that I've added several broadcasts, I think I'm just going to go ahead and change them for these ones here to make sure that I'll wait for a little bit. And then we're going to add this one here. We're going to do the second card, just so we can add a little buffer and we're not stepping on each other's toes. So that's adding the second broadcast. So now let's go take care of that. Step number 9, now we're going to go ahead and duplicate our first card code and then add it to our second card. And this will make it easier, that way we don't have to do extra work. We're just going to have to change the variable inside of it to set to our second card. So for the next step, we're going to go ahead and duplicate this guy here, because we don't want to redo it. We already did it once. We don't want to have to redo him. I'm just going to move him a little down. This guy a little bit up. So I can center it to screen. There you go. This is just me moving things around. Okay, so now I've duplicated and this is second card. Okay. I'm gonna name it second card. And again, the naming is just for your own convention. So now let's make sure we're on the second card, and on the code we're gonna change everything to second card, or anything that has to do with second card number. And this number 2 is gonna change to the number 2. I like to get rid of it because sometimes if I leave these, it does some weird stuff. So just go through it and change it to the second one. Still up to it, so you guys don't have to do this. Alright guys, so this is the code for the second card. Make sure everything has like second card or second number or number 2 on it, and everything has second card here. And that should do it for the second card. Now let's randomize it, and this number here should match the number, these two should match, and the number on the second card here. So just test it, make sure that it works. And again, like I said, you're gonna have some times where you have both of them matching, but that's because we haven't taken care of the case. We'll do that in part 2. Alright guys, final step. We're gonna go ahead and add these check. First, this check goes on one of the cards, so each card will have a check that will check for if the card matches the number of the sprite or like a character. And then each card would also have a click. So when you click the card, this specific code will go on our background, and this will go on the actual card. Now in the stage area, we're gonna go ahead and add what happens if we have a card that is matching or not matching if we click on them. So let's go to the events and add our, I already created it, but you create a new broadcast. This card, does card 1 match the sprite? So this is gonna check to see if they match with if the card that you clicked matches with the number of characters that you see. we're gonna use an if else here, and we're gonna do a comparison to see if they're equal. So what we're going to compare to see if they're equal is, does our first card match with the character number? If it does, we're gonna go to the sounds here and we're gonna play a sound. So let's go ahead and choose a sound. I'm gonna delete that one. Just quickly find a sound. It's the cheer. Here we go. And let's, while we're at it, choose the second sound for not matching. There we go. So choose two sounds that you want, one for matching and one for not matching. And go ahead and grab start sound here and put it in there. We're gonna go ahead and add the cheer for if the first card matches the character. We're gonna be happy, we're gonna yay. And if they don't match, we're gonna play that sound here. So this is for the first card. Now let's make sure we duplicate this and do one for our second card. Now we're gonna change the broadcast to second card. So let's go ahead and add a new message here. So card 2, do number match. Oops. Numbers match. I'm gonna check if the numbers match here. So these two will be checking, and we're gonna add not the first card, but we're gonna go ahead and add the second card to that one to check if the second card matches the character. Now let's go to our cards, and inside the cards we're gonna be checking for when we click the card. When we do click the first card, we want to go ahead and broadcast call that event that does the checking for the first card, so the first card. And then now go into your second card, and when we click on that, we want to check for the second card. So make sure you choose the second card. So let's go ahead and try it and see what it does. So that doesn't match. Yay! So right now, this card will always be the matching one. And again, this is only part 1. So we'll go ahead and take care of that in part 2. And just play around with it. Make sure that it all works correctly as you expected. Like for example, if I click on 2, you should always do that. And as long as I click on the matching one, it should always be correct. Alright guys, so that's it. We created a part 1 of our card matching with our characters. It was a long one, I agree. But we got through it and we learned quite a few things along the way. On part 2, we're going to learn how to fix some of the bugs that we have and randomize position of cards and all this stuff. And thank you so much for joining us on this adventure. And again, don't forget to follow us, subscribe to our channel, and like us, and join the rest of the community of 340 people that follow us. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.